Hey everybody. Welcome to the Row Show as it is called right now. It's going to change at some point when I can think of something that I like better. My name is Rhonda Lee Jones, and I'm here to just encourage you to do your thing. I've got fear hacks for you tonight. I don't know why all the shadows. I've got all the lights on, but anyway, I've got more lights coming. And yeah, we're just gonna have some fun tonight. We're doing it like super dramatic. I've got all the green and things happening, and apparently hair everywhere. So last time I talked about fear and overcoming fear and what that looked like. And so tonight I'm actually gonna tell you some things that I do to overcome it. I mean, I don't know if I'm just a scaredy cat, but I feel like I have to overcome fear all the time. So that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna get down to business tonight, and I just want to say that I'm so glad you're watching. I know I don't think anybody's here right now, following the live, but hopefully you'll catch up with it at a later date, and maybe some of these things will help you get your project done. What I have I always say what I have in mind. Here are my artists, my artists, my entrepreneurs, my visionaries, people who have ideas and want to make those ideas come true. So I want to see you do that. I want you to I want you to live your dreams. I want you to live in your purpose. And that doesn't have to be something big and dramatic, but it can be. Why not? If you want something big and dramatic, if you want to go to Hollywood, if you want to do whatever, then I believe you can do that. You can absolutely do that. You just have to stick with it and do the things. If you follow a recipe, you're gonna have a cake. It could be a stupid cake, but it's gonna be a cake. And if it's a stupid cake, you make another cake. After that. So just keep going. My phone is dinging, but anyway, so fear hacks. I didn't include a number of fear hacks that we're going to talk about tonight, um because I don't know how many. My notes are kind of wishy-washy tonight. It's not that they're overlapping. There's all this overlappingness about it. But anyway, so I'm just going to get started. So things you can do to overcome fear. And as I said last time, overcoming fear isn't about making fear go away. Cuz I hate to tell you guys, it's not going to go away. If you're being creative, if you're doing, you want to do big things, you want to do different things, you want to change your life, you want to do anything that anyone is going to notice, the fear is going to be there. It's just going to be there. It's going to be a fact of life. So the first thing you need to do to overcome fear and overcoming fear is simply getting comfortable in the presence of fear, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think is how Jen Sincero um, describes it. But I think the first thing that you do is just realize fear is not going anywhere. You just have to kind of practice acceptance when it comes to fear. Realize it's going to be your constant companion. There's there's an actor coach out there, and he coaches actors in the business of acting, not in the art of acting, but in the business of acting. His name is Brian Pataka, and I've taken a class from him before, and I actually had him as a coach before for a while. And what he will tell you is, um, fear's going to be something like fear's going to be with you on the trip, but don't let it drive the bus. And that's true for, I guess, any emotion. Don't let your emotions, be in control of what you're doing. So that's the first step. Just knowing it's going to be there. It's going to be your constant companion, probably. I know it's mine. Um, Number two, I guess I'll put numbers on. When you when you identify yourself as being in fear, um, notice what that feels like in your body, because I've been hearing this from coaches and from people posting. Emotions emotions show up in the body. We might have thoughts about them, They might come from our thoughts, but they show up in the body. Um, Fear might show up as a a palpitating heart or cold sweats or that sort of thing. For you, when you understand that you're feeling fear, try to identify what it's doing in your body, and that will help you sort of solve the mystery of fear a little bit. There's nothing so frightening as the unknown, and if you can boil your fear down to a set of sensations, then it will, I promise you, it will be easier to deal with. And for me, I've noticed that there are different flavors of fear, so to speak. Depending on what I'm afraid of at that moment, I'm going to get different sensations in my body. And some of them are some of them are actually kind of pump me up. A little bit of stage fright is fine. I kind of like that. But that that 4 in the morning fear when you wake up and you're like, I have to solve the problem right now, even though I'm half asleep. That can be pretty overwhelming sometimes. So just kind of notice where the fear is showing up in your body. That can be a first step toward really understanding your own fear. And fear is, we all experience it, and we've all probably experienced all the flavors of fear, but I think we probably have our own ways of doing it. It's a little bit unique to each of us, even though it's very much a everybody has it sort of thing. So just kind of get to know what your fear is saying to you. Your fear is not. Also understand that fear is not a bad thing. It's not something you need to find a cure for. Fear is it's a communication. It's telling you something, and if you can be aware of what it's trying to tell you at that moment, then that can be, that might spark a little gratitude instead of like hatred of it. Yes, thank you for letting me know I need to attend to this thing, or letting me know that this is an important thing that I should notice. That's probably what it's telling you. This is a thing you should notice and pay attention to, and have a plan for. I notice with anxiety, for instance, um, if I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, that probably means there's something in my life I need to change, and I've been ignoring that. So my body kind of starts beating the pots and pans a little bit to get my attention. Fear is trying to get your attention, anxiety is trying to get your attention. So you sort of pay attention to what it's trying to tell you. And honestly, one of the best ways to do that is to start writing this stuff down, which can be really centering as well. I find that writing with a pen on paper is a very calming, very centering activity for me. And if you, I will always tell you to keep a journal. Keep a journal to learn about yourself, to learn what these sensations are telling you instead of just being reactive to it. Be intentional about it. Look at be curious. Curiosity, one of the most important things that you can ever intentionally do is be curious, whether that's a relationship, a friendship. Um, if you're not curious about yourself, you're not going to learn anything. If you're not curious about the other person, you're not going to learn anything about them. And you can't have a solid, healthy connection without learning something about that other person and about yourself. So, curiosity is a survival on an emotional level. So, yeah, that's me on my soapbox. Oh, I have a great one. I have a great one, and I do this in the morning when I want to get up, when I don't want to get up, and I have to get up. And I got it from Mel Robbins, and you're gonna be hearing her name a lot. You're gonna be hearing Brene Brown's name a lot, and a bunch of other people, because there are some brilliant people out there. I promise you, they are more brilliant than I am. Hopefully, I can funnel you to some really, interesting people out there, and don't leave me for them though. you know don't leave me for them. But yeah, Mel Robbins. Let me take a sip of my clear liquid. It's not vodka. I know it looks like vodka. I do not like vodka. It's water. I love my sparkly waters. My li- my liqueur. Anyway, so Mel Robbins has this thing that she does when she doesn't want to do something, or when she does want to do it, but she's afraid to do it, or she doesn't want to get up in the morning, and I do it too. Um, Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and by the time you get to 1, you're doing it. You know, whether it's going to talk to somebody at the networking event, you're kind of distracting yourself with all that counting. You're like, it becomes a game at that point. And you know, in the morning, a lot of times I'm like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm out of bed. You know, so that's a great trick for dealing with the fear, for just overriding it. You're overriding it is what you're doing. I don't like the way the light looks tonight. I've got to fix this. I've got to fix this. And if anybody out there has some tips about how I can make the light better, I ordered another ring light, and so I'm going to be using that one. I was just too lazy to put it up tonight, but we're going to see. Because I think it was, I swear, things were a little bit brighter the other day, but we'll see. We'll fix it. Okay, so number 4. This is a little bit more cerebral. It has to do with that journaling activity I keep telling you to do. Ask yourself, what are you actually afraid of? You know, I'm afraid of talking to the person. No, you're not afraid of talking to that person. You know, you're afraid of something, of that leading to something. What is the something happening that you are afraid of? And get as specific as you can. Because for me, a lot of times it's a specific thing. I don't want them to say a specific thing. If they say a specific thing, if they say that thing, I will lose my mind. That's how I feel. And then I imagine them saying the thing, and then I have a conversation with them around them saying the thing, and I've already worn myself out about it, and they never really say the thing. So, what is that thing, you know, that you are afraid of seeing? Or um I know for me sometimes it's a facial expression. You know, I'm coming and I'm showing you a thing, and I'm really proud of the thing, and I really want you to gush about the thing and say, oh my god, that's such an amazing thing. And if instead I get a sort of if I get that sort of thing, for me, that is it. And I don't know where that came from in my childhood, but yeah, that just sort of look that people can get, like, I just brought you my heart on a silver platter, and you said, you know, that for me is a big, that non-reaction is it's kind of heartbreaking for me, to be quite honest with you. So if I get that, chances are I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of sharing in that arena anymore. But get specific like that. Get specific, um, if you can. If there's a specific phrase you're afraid of hearing. And seriously, guys, these fears come out. It's a simple thing, and when you look at it and you put it on paper, you can sort of see it and sort of break it down to its constituent parts. And you know, it doesn't look as scary when it's all written out. You know, when you say, oh, is that all I'm afraid of? Then you can begin to work with it. You can begin to work on, you know, desensitizing yourself, you know, just sort of practicing. You can even have someone, you can practice with someone else saying that to you, you know, someone well meaning, obviously, but you can, that's a thing you can work on. But it doesn't really matter what you do, as long as you are becoming aware of your triggers and you're doing something with them. I feel like that's you know, that's going to help. That's going to help a lot. Also ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Now, granted, with some things you might be doing, that answer might be pretty drastic, but let me tell you, I no matter how drastic the answer is, you can work yourself through it. You can work yourself through it. I'm going to tell you about my airplane meditation. Oh yeah. Oh, let me tell you. I was on an airplane, and this is years and years ago. Don't even remember where I was. I think I was going to be on the airplane for 5 hours. It seemed like 5 hours was the thing, and I was ready to come out of my skin. I was ready to run off the plane. I was so scared. And with me, fear of flying was sort of hit or miss. Sometimes I would be afraid, sometimes I wouldn't. But I was in a panic. I was ready to leave the plane. I was not happy. I thought I was going to die on the spot. And I thought, I can't do this for 5 hours. I literally cannot do this for 5 hours. I can't feel like this for 5 hours. I was terrified. And so what I did was I closed my eyes and I focused on everything I could hear and everything I felt and everything I smelled. I just focused on everything that my senses were telling me. It was really a big mindfulness, exercise. And I was doing breathing as well at the same time, and really noticing what that sensation felt like. I was bringing myself so far into the moment, into the now, that I didn't have room in my head to panic about the future. And so I did that for a while. And I feel like, if I remember correctly, what made me switch to the next phase of this, which I didn't know there was going to be a next phase, but apparently my sensations from the five senses, not the eyes, obviously my eyes were closed. But I did notice that too, because you can kind of see the inside of your eyelids. So when I noticed that things were repeating for me a lot, that I was sort of going over the same sensations, I started playing with what ifs. Well, what's the worst that can happen? Well, the thing I really don't want to happen is the plane falling out of the sky, me crashing and dying. And so I thought, well, okay, let's play with that. So I imagined that happening. And I was so relaxed in such a state of meditation that I actually experienced the plane falling, um, and knowing that I was going to crash and die. And yeah, this is the party you wanted to come to tonight, right? But as I was experiencing that, I got back into the moment of the fantasy of what was happening, and I said, okay, what am I actually experiencing? This is no worse than a ride at the fair. Now, granted, I know that a lot of other stuff can happen, and you can't breathe, and and just a lot, but just stay with me here. Um, so I thought, okay, well, this is this set of sensations. This is just this, and this isn't so bad. And then at the end of it all, there was nothing. There was just nothingness. And I thought, well, that's actually, the panic is worse than what I was actually experiencing in the fantasy of the crash. And so I went through that, and I forget what I did after that, but there was more. I meditated for like 5 hours. I've never felt so wonderful in my life. When I got off that plane, I was the most relaxed I think I've ever been. Um, so, but you know what? I never had flight anxiety like that again. I get a little nervous when I'm flying. Sure I do. But I don't get to that point where I have to sit there and meditate my fears away. I'm just, there it is. It's okay. And yeah, that could happen, but I almost feel like that, to me, that experience isn't the unknown anymore. I also, on a similar note, years before that even happened, I did a death meditation, a group death meditation, where we went through the process of dying, and we went beyond that, into this whole, what the body is doing and that sort of thing. And that alleviated a lot of fears, a lot of death fear for me. So, that's meditating on the worst thing that can happen and embracing it is honestly um, one of the best things you can do to alleviate. It will alleviate a lot of the fear, but you have to go deep into it first. You have to be willing to experience it. So that's acceptance, I guess. Acceptance. When you fight against possibilities, that's where a lot of the pain and a lot of the fear comes from. So just make it a practice to just go deep into that feeling and embrace it and look at it and take it apart and figure it out, and just feel it. Feel what's going on in your body. I find that if I wake up with the 4 o'clock terrors at night and I just kind of curl up and feel what's going on in my body and really embrace what's going on in my body, that calms me, right? I usually just go right to sleep, honestly. So that's a big thing. That's a big thing. And when you're doing something big, a lot of times you will wake up in the middle of the night with that. And sometimes just the fear of knowing that can happen, knowing that 4 o'clock thing can happen, is enough to keep you from doing something. So if you're willing to experience that, it's just another experience. It's just an emotion. Fear is just an emotion. So, worrying about the future, the future isn't here. Now is the only thing that's happening, according to Eckhart Tolle and a few others. Just be concerned with what's happening this minute. And yeah, it's a practice, but it can really help. It can really help. And also knowing that whatever you're experiencing in that moment, it's going to pass. You're not going to feel that way necessarily tomorrow, no matter how intense the emotion is. Letting yourself experience the emotion is key to not traumatizing yourself. Okay, so number 5, number 6, I don't know. I may have snuck an extra one in there somewhere. Oh yeah, the visualizations. There are a lot of visualizations you can do to kind of work your brain around this. And I talked about one the other day. It was Jen Sincero, the author who writes the badass books, like You're a Badass at Making Money. Um, she talks about. I think she's where I get this from. The idea of being stranded in the jungle. You're the last survivor. Plane went down. Now that's a big theme with me tonight, apparently. The plane went down. You're the last one. Um, and you have to make it to civilization somehow. So you're going to do that one step at a time. If you can take that next step, then you can take the next step, and you can take the next step. Um, if you're in that situation, you're not going to stop walking. I don't care how uncomfortable it is. The alternative is, you know, not that pleasant. So what else do you have to do at that point except make it to civilization? And if you approach your projects like that, then you'll get them done. You'll get them done. Just do the next thing. Just always do the next thing. Um, there's another. God, I meant to look this up. Crap. Um, I wish I could be historically give you a date, no war, and all that stuff. But the idea of if you're storming a shore, you have the troops, you're storming a shore, um, and all your guys are going for the enemy or whatever you're doing. Burn the boats so they can't retreat. Burn your boats in your mind. Burn your boats. Don't allow retreat to be an option for you. Just don't. It's kind of like, okay, think of it this way. Think of it this way. Um, you're on the road and you're going back to the office or going back home or whatever, and you've maybe eaten the wrong thing at lunch and you really got to go. And you really need to go, like right now. You need to go in a bad way. And but you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that until you get where you're going. You're going to pull out all of your willpower to make sure you don't embarrass yourself. Because on that subject, you burned the boats. That failure is not an option. So yeah, do it like you got to poop. I mean, just yeah, don't give yourself that option. Okay, I got one more, unless I think of another one. Just be really basic about. When I say basic, I don't mean the same things that the kids mean when they say basic. When I say basic, I just mean down to the nitty gritty of the whole thing. Basic as in, just keep it simple. Breathe. If you're freaking out about something, breathe for 10 minutes. Don't let yourself think about it. Well, I mean, you're going to think about it, but don't follow the thoughts for like 10 minutes. And seriously, just get in there and go. Bring that breath all the way down. And then bring it out. In through the nose, out through the mouth. And notice how good it feels. Just right now, it feels really good. I'm noticing how good it feels. And once you start noticing sensations in your body, especially good ones, it's going to take your mind off of the thoughts, because thoughts are like little rabbits, you don't have to follow them. You don't have to chase them. You can just let them play in your yard. Just notice them, like, hi, let the thoughts be there. Don't be disturbed by the thoughts, but just like, okay, yeah, I know you're there. I know you're there. Thank you. I know you're trying to help me. It's good. Thank you so much. I know you're trying to keep me safe. I think I stole that one from Brene Brown. So yeah, just, fear is, it's not the end all be all. We are all afraid all the time of something. I promise you that, and the ones who say they're not are probably more afraid, not because they're weaker, and fear is not a weakness, but because they haven't processed that fear. If they're telling you they're not afraid, they're telling themselves they're not afraid. And that's just not true. And if you're telling yourself you're not afraid, when you're afraid, you're not processing that emotion. We need to process. We need to process these things. And if we allow the emotion to come through, it's not going to last that long. The reason we get stuck in fear is because we're resisting it, because it's unpleasant, or we think it's unpleasant. We're telling ourselves it's unpleasant, but what if it wasn't? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if I told you what you wanted to hear tonight. I hope I told you what you needed to hear, because fear is just, it's a fact of life. It's a fact of life if you're a creator. It's a fact of life if you're a parent. It's a fact of life if you're going to work every day. I don't care what you're doing. It can be a scary world out there, and that's not, necessarily, that's not a bad thing. Just welcome all the emotions. Processing that fear will not only allow you to do the thing you're trying to do, but it will allow you to also process things like joy. If you're keeping the fear out, you're probably keeping the joy out too. So we want this life to be a big, fulfilling smorgasbord of stuff, of just stuff. So anyway, this is just stuff that works for me, stuff that I'm gonna try. If I haven't tried it, I have tried all this stuff at various times, and yes, it does work when I allow myself to do it. Sometimes I don't feel like doing it, so I don't do it, and then it doesn't work because I'm not doing it. So anyway, this is just me, and just letting you know what works for me. It's not meant to you know to to take the place of therapy, or if you need a professional, go get a professional. If you need therapy, go to get. I'm not even going to say it like that. We all need therapy. Please go get therapy. Any sort of medical advice, it's not intended to be medical advice, or to take the place of therapy, or any sort of professional things. Anyway, I love you all. It's great to talk to you, and I hope it helps. And please, yeah, if you've got some ideas, some things, some ways to overcome fear, or just little things you're afraid of, or anything you want to share in the comments, please let me know. Okay, bye. Talk to you next time.